Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing fantastic as we are about 24 hours away as I record this from the Miami Heat taking on the Chicago Bulls. A little over 24 hours from the Miami Heat taking on the Chicago Bulls in the play-in game. Miami Heat, for the first time in their play-in history, have to win 2 games, both on the road as the 10 seed against a team that has absolutely had their number. But some good news that I was not expecting. I was curious. The Miami Heat had practice today against the before they flew out to Chicago and got ready, and some news popped up from this, and I was pretty excited about it. I was pretty excited about it because we got the greatest 2 words in sports. Jovic, dude. Nikola Jovic is apparently on the mend. And the good news is he's questionable for tomorrow night's play-in game against the Miami Heat. Did some activities, wasn't a full practice, and I still do not know if he is going to be able to go. I'm not sure about it, but he is officially questionable for the game. He's not out. He's not probable. So maybe it's a matter of, hey, if they absolutely need to break glass in case of emergency, they go to him, or if the Heat are handling it, maybe they give him a little bit of run, a little bit of time. I'm not quite sure. Or maybe we've just been waiting for this puppy the whole damn time. Hard to say. I'm not sure. But when I saw the idea that Nikola Jovic was going to be back, I got very excited. Very excited. He's been out since February 23rd with a broken bone in his hand, but Erik Spoelstra had said he's been doing lifting. He's been doing conditioning. He's got good body fat. He's been doing player development. I was very, very excited when I saw this. Not only that, but the Heat are also looking like they may get Pelle Larsson back. He is also questionable for tomorrow. Not a definite. I believe Josh Giddey's also dealing with something. We'll get to him here in just a second. But he says that he's going to play through it and what he's dealing with. It was like something with his elbow or something like that I saw. One of the reporters. He had a injured muscle on the side of his hand, and it's still a problem. But he's optimistic he's going to play. The Heat in this matchup, they are 0-3 against the Chicago Bulls. We all know that. The Bulls have absolutely kicked their ass every which way, and really it is a matter of their high-powered offense, specifically with the likes of Josh Giddey, who has absolutely been crushing Miami, being unable to be stopped by the Miami Heat. He has been absolutely dominant in his 3 matchups against Miami. They've also had to deal with the likes of Matas Buzelis. We know we know that Nikola Vucevic is always a Miami Heat killer. They've had games where Kobe White wasn't really even doing anything, and then all of a sudden was getting going. But this matchup has been an infuriating one for Miami and really has encapsulated a lot of their issues as a team this season. And I think we look back on it with different eyes because I remember them losing their first matchup in February against them and thinking like, oh my God, that was a game where Miami was up 103-94 in the third quarter. They were up by double digits going into halftime. They were still up 9 going into the fourth quarter. And then they were outscored 39-21 in the fourth quarter. Buzelis had a perfect game from the field. And Terry Rozier just dropped an absolute stink bomb for the Miami Heat in 29 minutes with a tune of a 2-for-12 performance for Miami. It dropped him to 500. Tyler Hero did have 6 turnovers in that game too. Wasn't the best and most efficient game from Boy Wonder. And Josh Giddey, the least of his performances against Miami, had 24 points. And you know, that was one of the signs, just like that was such a monster collapse and such a lack of fortitude to win that game. And they had just finished, they had just suspended Jimmy basically indefinitely, and they were in the midst of all of that. But somehow Spo was still leaning on Terry Rozier in that game. Now, the second matchup happened in March, and that one was almost a mirror image where Miami was up most of the game. They were up at halftime, but then in the fourth quarter, outscored 36-20 in the fourth quarter. And I just remember in that game, not only that Josh Giddey was a killer against the Heat with a 26-point triple-double, but Trey Jones was just having his way getting to the basket on Miami. There was a huge play where Josh Giddey came and blocked Tyler Hero, and Jones got, I believe, a 3 off of it. Then he got a steal and score. I mean, he was just dicing up Miami in the fourth quarter of that game. So just another game where the Miami Heat looked like they were stuck in mud and was not able to slow down the Chicago Bulls at all. And it all happened as an avalanche in the fourth quarter. And then you have, of course, the final matchup of the season, which was basically everything to play for, which was to be for a home game. And Miami in that one, after the first quarter, was really working its way uphill against Chicago. They actually trailed at halftime in that game. They nearly pulled it off there at the end, but of course we have the infamous steal and brick from Tyler Hero, which was one of the decisions that will go on the end of season blooper reel. Not a great game from Bam Adebayo, and the Heat allowed the Bulls to shoot 53% from the field in that game. I think 47% from 3. And Josh Giddey, what do you know? A monster 28-point, 16 rebound, 11 assist, triple-double with 2 steals and 3 blocks to add on to it. He has absolutely cooked Miami this year, and they got to figure out what to do. This was Bam Adebayo on Josh Giddey and what he has done for the Chicago Bulls.
I feel like since his trade to the Bulls, people kind of shit on him. And he took that personal. Obviously, it's not only us he's been having success with. He's been doing that to everybody since the trade, I feel like. So, to me, man, you just make things difficult. Understand that, he gets a mismatch, he's going downhill. And we just got to guard our yard.
They got to find some way to do something with him. And obviously, if you get Pelle Larsson, that's going to help you a little bit with having another defender. Remember, they didn't have him there for that game. It was the one where he did get hurt in the freak little injury there before the game. So a guy who had really found his way into the starting rotation all of a sudden was gone. And I think the Heat did feel that. Davion Mitchell, I think, probably had one of the stronger games from Miami. But look, Josh Giddey is no joke, and he has absolutely just throttled Miami. And Miami just has to find a way to impose their will. I do think that there's been a little bit of arrogance of Miami taking on the Bulls and thinking that they're playing down the competition. Now that they've gotten swept by them, I got to feel like Miami comes in with a better attitude. It may not matter because, one, you have to have Miami get through an entire fourth quarter game, pressure-filled game you assume to be more physical just because it is a play-in game. Does that benefit Miami? It hasn't this year. They have not been good at being able to slow things up. Tyler Hero, he even made the point today where he felt like, they should have won all 3 of those games. And while I appreciate the honesty from Tyler, and I'm not cooking him for it, I almost feel like, hey, you can't have that attitude going into this game.
I feel like we should have won all 3 games that we played. I think we've won almost every quarter in every game except one quarter, so it's a matter of a 48-minute game plan and sticking to it and, being consistent to the game plan for the full length of the game.
I just think that the trouble in a thought process like that from Tyler is, one, I still feel like it's an assessment of not having the respect needed for the opponent just based on those comments. So I don't love that. The other thing is, man, okay, but you guys basically got doubled up in 2 of these matchups in the fourth quarter. And the last one, yeah, you didn't. You were working your way uphill and nearly were able to claw your way back, and you had some crazy heroics, and you tried to throw your cajones on the table and make that happen. It did not. And the Heat are where they are, having to win these 2 road games. But Eric Spoelstra says that they don't want to play prevent defense, and that that they're going to have to be in a spot where they're going to have to fight a little fire with fire. Here was Spo.
Look, we don't want to play a prevent offense or a prevent type game. We want to attack this game. And you can dance with the fire, but you got to be smart about it. Because, getting relief points, for us is also important. And we don't want to play just a snail's pace to try to slow them down. They'll still score. Or find ways to get, that ball up the court. So, again, who can control the game? Who can impose their will? We know what their will is. We know what their game is. We have to be able to get to ours.
This man never stops with the unbelievable sayings. You got to you got to be able to dance with the fire, but you got to be careful. You can dance with the fire, but you got to be careful. And I think, from my standpoint, I just think that Miami, it can't just be a pace of, hey, can you keep up? Miami does have to dictate some terms of things. And you know that the Bulls are going to run. You know that they're going to try and run no matter what. You know they're going to have these giant outlet passes. You have to get back in transition defense. It just, there can be no mistake about it. And there also has to be an element of, man, I do think Spo's got to let Kalel play through mistakes. I think that he is such a deterrent at the rim. You can't get any stupid fouls from him in any regard to. If they get Nico back, man, I think that'll be helpful of having a guy who can play with a little bit more speed. Not exactly, no, I'm sure it'd be in a limited role, although it's not a lower body injury. It's a little bit weird because he's basically coming back from a hand. So maybe it's like you can't really know what I think his conditioning will be okay. I guess the rust is probably just a factor in getting up to game speed. I don't know how comfortable Spo would be, but man, that may be one of those games where you need a spark. Funny enough, it kind of feels on a much crappier scale, but like it reminds you a little bit of Udonis and the spark that he performed in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, where maybe he wasn't all the way right, but just an emotional lift. Maybe Jovic can provide that if he is available, and certainly I think Pella can as well. And they need everybody. It is all hands on deck. And then the other thing, the big factor on this is Andrew Wiggins. Where is Andrew Wiggins at for this game? How is he feeling for this game? And what can he bring to the table for the Miami Heat? Because he hasn't necessarily looked like himself. He said today in some of the quotes I saw from reporters that he's feeling much better than he did in working his way back. But look, man, it's all here for Miami. I think this is one of those ones where Miami finds itself in a troubling situation just simply because they have struggled with them. But, Vegas still sees this as a pretty even game. Chicago's giving a point and a half in this one. So I think the talent discrepancy isn't looked upon there. I think Bulls being at home and just having this matchup and the issues Miami can have sometimes with scoring. But over, these last 15 dozen to 15 to 15, that's speaking, these last dozen to 15 games, Miami has played a lot better. They have shot a lot better and have been playing together a lot better. It's just they got to be able to bring this one, have the through line through the entire 4 quarters of the game and not let it slip like it has in 2 of the matchups where they've just completely let the bottom dropped out. But getting Jovic back, that is absolutely exciting. I think they have very much missed him. If they can get him back, his playmaking, his rebounding, I'm not even talking about his offense, the vibes, the energy. It's a lot to ask because you're dropping him in cold from a game, but you get him a little bit in this one, and then if Miami wins, you get him a little bit more in the next one. And I think that's an absolute X factor difference maker when you get back Jovic, dude.